right, welcome to MazzaMedia. We are live. It's Sunday afternoon, January 25th, 2026. It's cold outside. It's cold out there every day. We are here. I got to make sure my mic's on there we go. Now I'm live on X Spaces as well. So, all right, we are live on YouTube. Spaces is now open as well. This is a live call-in show. I'm going to be talking about the Patriots today. It's AFC Championship Sunday. It's cold out there in New England right now. It's cold out there in Denver right now. And the weather outside is absolutely frightful as the biggest snowstorm of the year that we believe we're going to get is now coming down outside. It's been snowing all morning here throughout western Massachusetts, central Massachusetts, parts of probably the Metro West area. And then Boston is now snowing. So it's going to be a big day. This is a great day for football, and I'm looking forward to these games. It's going to be great. The Patriots are on first. The Patriots will be streamed on Paramount Plus today, as well as on CBS on cable. So you have a couple different ways to watch the game. The Seahawks and Rams will be on at 6:30. The Patriots at 3 against the Broncos. And then the Patriots, after that game's over, there'll be a 6:30 game, and that will have the Seahawks and Rams live from Seattle. So this year, the way the NFL works, I'm just looking at the spaces here because I might get requests any moment here for call-ins. The way the NFL works is every year the Super Bowl has, as you know, an odd number or an even number. So this year is an even number Super Bowl. It's going to be for Super Bowl 60. Hope you guys are all doing well. Super Bowl 60. What that means is that the AFC is the home team in the Super Bowl. So every year in the NFL, there's a home team in the Super Bowl and there's a away team. So they designate them, even though it's neutral territory. So in Super Bowl 60, because it's even, that means that the AFC champion will get to decide the jersey color that they wear. Most often, those teams will wear their home color jerseys. So the Patriots, for example, would typically wear blue, except in Super Bowl 52 against the Eagles, where the Patriots designated to wear their white uniforms, and then the Eagles wore green. So if you look at most even-numbered Super Bowls, you'll see that the teams will have their colored uniforms, and then the opponents will have the white uniforms in those Super Bowls, except for teams like the Steelers, I think, who wore white once or twice. And then you have the Cowboys who wore their white uniforms a few times as well. So, yeah, it's going to be a great day. It's definitely the biggest day in football for the Final Four teams. This is really it. This is where, you're right at the cusp right now, and you have an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl and really make all your football dreams come true. And for fan bases all across the country, these are the moments that you pray for. You pray that your team will go to the Super Bowl. You pray that your team will win the Super Bowl, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a great day, and hopefully it ends the way the Patriots want it. So, again, it will be a home-designated Super Bowl. What that also means is that on a home year for the AFC, their game goes first. So anytime it's a home year for the AFC, they play at 3. The NFC will play at 6:30. Last year, for example, the AFC was on second and the NFC was on first because that was Super Bowl 59, and that was an odd-numbered Super Bowl. So that would have been an NFC home year. So that's pretty much how it works in the NFL in terms of scheduling and how jersey colors are determined when it comes to the Super Bowl. My wings are not ready yet, so I'm going to be cutting this show off by 2 o'clock, and then I'll be having wings cooked today. They will be garlic parmesan chicken wings today. I also got some bacon-wrapped jalapenos that I bought from the supermarket that I'll be throwing in the oven. I got some other things like Cool Ranch Doritos that I'm ready to rock today. So I'm giving this the big treatment because when you're in the AFC Championship, you don't know, when your home team's in the AFC Championship, you don't know if this is going to be their last game or not. So basically, this is it. This is basically, it's do or die today. That's it. You're either going to the Super Bowl or they're flying back to Rhode Island T.F. Green Airport and the season is over, right? That's basically what it is. Now, let's talk some history here. The Patriots and the Broncos have played in the playoffs 5 times in their history, 4 times this century. And the Broncos have won 4 out of the 5 games. Now, 86 we're going to throw to the wayside because that game is not relevant to modern history. We're going to talk about this century. The Patriots went to Denver in 2005 for the divisional playoff game. This was after they had already won back-to-back Super Bowls in Super Bowls 38 and Super Bowls 39. The Patriots took on Jake Plummer, Champ Bailey, and the Denver Broncos. This game ends up ending in a devastating loss for the Patriots. Most notable moment of the game was when Champ Bailey intercepted Tom Brady, tried to take it back for a pick six, but Ben Watson, then the tight end for the New England Patriots, ran him down and tackled him in one of the most amazing tackles in NFL history. The Broncos went to the Super Bowl that year only to lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers in Super Bowl 40. And that was all she wrote for that Patriot season, and so much for a three-peat. 8 years later, on the road to Super Bowl 48, the New England Patriots traveled out to Denver to take on Peyton Manning, Wes Welker, and the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos that particular season had one of the greatest seasons in NFL history, with one of the greatest offenses in NFL history outside the New England Patriots of 2007. And the Patriots and the Broncos would end, I think it was 26-16 in that particular game. And that was all she wrote for the Patriots. The Seahawks would take on the Broncos in the Super Bowl that year, only for the Denver Broncos, with the number one offense in the league and possibly of all time, to run into a steel wall that was known as the Legion of Boom Seahawks defense, ultimately ending up in a 43-8 victory for Richard Sherman, Russell Wilson, and Marshawn Lynch of the Seattle Seahawks. 2 years later, the New England Patriots returned to Denver for the third time in Denver this year. The Patriots had only defeated the Broncos once in the playoffs out of the 4 times they met, defeating Tim Tebow and the Denver Broncos in New England in a divisional playoff game. The Patriots would defeat the Ravens the next week to go on to the Super Bowl to take on the New York Giants, only to lose Super Bowl 46, which was absolutely horrible and absolutely terrible. So moving forward, the New England Patriots took on the Broncos for the 4th and final time up until today, which was the 2015 AFC Championship, played in 2016. This featured the New England Patriots battling the Broncos with their best fight they've ever given them in Denver, quite honestly, only to end up losing at the very end of the game. And it was a close one in that particular game. And the Patriots, had they maybe kicked field goals instead of going for it on 4th down multiple times, would have ultimately won that game by my estimation, just by kicking field goals left and right. So those are the 4 times they met. All 3 times in Denver, the Patriots' seasons have ended, which brings us to today. Can the Patriots finally get over the hump in Denver? Denver is no question one of the hardest stadiums to play in. The Denver Bronco fans are like the Patriots fans, Seahawks fans, Bears fans, very passionate fan base, care about their team wholeheartedly. But at the end of the day, it's a high elevation out there. I think it's like 58,000 or 5,800, 5,100 or 5,800, whatever it is, altitude up there. And it's extremely tough to breathe. The Patriots just traveled there yesterday, and now they're going to be taking on the Denver Broncos in Denver in this elevation level that's extremely hard to play in. It's just a different level of atmosphere there, and it's difficult. And there's certain players, I think there's a player with a health issue in the NFL, couldn't even play in Denver. I think it was a member of the Buffalo Bills, in fact, couldn't even play in Denver back then just because of the level of difficulty that it was to breathe at that elevation, quite honestly. So it's very tough to play out there. But I will say this, the Patriots have a pretty solid advantage today, as Bo Nix, the premier starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos, is injured. He will not play today. The quarterback for the Denver Broncos will be Jarrett Stidham, who was actually drafted by the New England Patriots. Well, Tom Brady was still a Patriots quarterback. He will be starting that game today. He's only started a few games or played in a few games in his entire career. Hi, Leslie girl. Only started and played in a few games throughout his entire NFL career and has not started a game this year. So it's going to be an extremely interesting situation today to let's just see what we got for things. Extremely interesting situation today to see how this is going to pan out for the Denver Broncos as well. They're going to have that home field advantage. and they're going to have a quarterback that hasn't started all day, and quite frankly, not many games. So it's going to be a big day for their defense, which brings me to this next problem. The Broncos defense, in my opinion, is not as good as they're saying it is, okay? The problem with a lot of the national media, the worldwide media, ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, or whatever they call them, unless that's ABC. Actually, ABC and ESPN are owned by the same company, so what's the difference? The problem here is that what you see with a lot of analysts, Stephen A. Smith, a few other analysts, the problem with them that I always see is they're always re-envisioning everything. They're moving the line every single week. So last week, every single analyst was pretty much clear that the Houston Texans had the number one defense in the NFL. It was not for debate. It was undisputed. They had the number one defense in the NFL without question, okay? Now, all of a sudden, if you listen to the analysts this week, it's like, well, it's actually the Broncos that have the number one defense, or it's actually the Seahawks that have the number one defense. All of a sudden, you see how, and I've seen this done time and time again. A lot of us here have been Patriots fans for a long, long time. We know how it works in the national media. Most of these media companies, they're based out of New York. They're based out of California or Los Angeles. They don't like the Patriots. They don't like Boston sports teams. New York has always been one of our primary rivals, our quintessential rival in sports. They don't like our teams. Okay. Los Angeles, the Celtics-Lakers rivalry, Los Angeles analysts, they don't like the New England Patriots. They don't like New England sports teams at all. They have always had it in for us. And you saw this during Spygate and Deflategate, and even what happened with Antonio Brown. They pushed and pushed and pushed until the Patriots released Antonio Brown in Brady's final season. That's the way these media entities work. They hate Boston sports teams. They hate the New England Patriots. And all year long, this is what we've heard. The Patriots are overrated. They have an easy schedule. Well, when you beat 60, I think they've beaten 16 unique teams at this point, including 2 playoff teams that they've beaten. At this point, that whole argument of an easy schedule goes right out the damn window as far as I'm concerned. I don't care anymore because at the end of the day, they've beaten 2 playoff teams. And now what's going to happen today is, oh, well, they've had an easy schedule to get here, or it's the Patriots, beat a backup quarterback, so basically they're a fluke. That's pretty much the nonsense that you're going to hear out of the national media this week. And a lot of people online that hate the Patriots, quite frankly, because they are upset. They are furious that the New England Patriots are back. There's so many fan bases out there that did not like the New England Patriots the longest time. They all kind of like myself couldn't stand the Kansas City Chiefs after a while. And now the Kansas City Chiefs are kind of, maybe their dynasty's over, or it's in a temporary holding pattern until they return to their past glory. I don't know. But all of a sudden, here we are. The New England Patriots are 1 game away from the Super Bowl for the first time in 7 years. And that's what's really happening here. And then here you go. All of a sudden, it's, well, the Patriots, Drake May had some fumble issues against the Texans. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that they played the number one defense in the NFL last week. You'd have to imagine that some turnovers are going to happen. Okay, we had 3 turnovers. It was a snow game. It happens. Totally get it. But let's not hide the fact that our Patriots defense had a really great game last week. They forced 5 turnovers, intercepted C.J. Stroud 4 times in that game, and their defense was dominant. Marcus Jones took it to the house for a pick 6. The Patriots are rocking right now. They're rolling right now, and they're proving week after week after week that they are as legitimate as advertised. As we've advertised them here in Boston. I don't want to hear anything about a weak schedule anymore. This team is undefeated on the road this year. They have not lost a single road game. They're going on the road in Denver today. And then guess what? The Super Bowl is always on the road anyway. So this team can play in an adverse situation against a crowd that don't like them, that wants to boo them, and all that stuff. And that's the way it goes in this league, and that's the way it is. I think I have to sneeze 1 second. Okay, I think I got everything mic'd and unmic'd now. So sorry about that. I could feel it coming on. I was like, oh my goodness, I got you. Cold weather, wintry snow. That's what happens this time of year. But yes, they're always moving the line like Mike Greenberg of ESPN from Mike and Mike. He was on the pregame panel before the Patriots and Texans last Sunday. The Houston Texans are my pick to win the Super Bowl. So not only did he pick him to win the game, he was picking him to win the Super Bowl. He was picking the Texans to win the Super Bowl. So you're telling me that they were good enough to win. They basically beat your Super Bowl pick? This is what happened in 2001. If all of you out there remember the 2001 season, this is exactly the way it was in 2001. The Oakland Raiders are unbeatable. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to Super Bowl 36. And then guess what? The Patriots won in the Tuck Rule game, the Snow Bowl game. The Patriots went out to Pittsburgh that day. Yeah, Brady went down, but Drew Bledsoe popped into that game. He threw a touchdown pass and said, yeah, this is how I'm going out as a Patriots player with my second AFC championship, 96 and 01. And then they went to the Super Bowl against the Rams, beat up the Rams all game. And if it wasn't for that holding call on Willie McGinnis on Marshall Faulk, Tabucky Jones was taking that ball all the way to the house. And that game was going to be a total blowout, 24-3 at the time it would have been. Instead, it becomes 17-10. All comes down to Brady driving the ball down the field, Adam Vinatieri hitting a kick at the buzzer, basically, to put the Patriots on the ship for their first chip in Super Bowl 36, baby. And I got that hat right here. There it is, baby. Super Bowl 36 champions, courtesy of my uncle. I remember my uncle got this for me, and it's a cherished hat that I love to death. But this was an awesome day. One of my favorite days in Boston sports history, besides the Red Sox winning the World Series in 2004. That was an awesome, awesome game. And I got the Super Bowl 38 hat here today. This is when they beat the Panthers in Houston, Texas. This is that hat here. It's got the logo somewhere. There's the Super Bowl 38 logo, which was a combination of Texas and outer space. That was a great Super Bowl. People forget about that Super Bowl and how great it was. That was a great Super Bowl. Super Bowl 36, Super Bowl 38. Both of them were. And then I got this one I actually bought, a Super Bowl 39. I didn't buy this one right away. I didn't actually buy this until the week before the Patriots played against the Giants in Super Bowl 42. I was down at Gillette Stadium in the pro shop and got my Super Bowl 39 hat. That's when they beat the Eagles 24-21. That was a really great day. So that was the original dynasty. Then one of my favorite Patriots Super Bowls of all time. I love them all, don't get me wrong. Super Bowl 49, I still got the sticker on this thing. This was the big win against the Seattle Seahawks. Malcolm Butler with the interception at the end of the game to give the Patriots their first Super Bowl in a decade, in a moment where it seemed like the Patriots were going to lose 3 straight Super Bowls off a bunch of wild passes against the Giants twice and then curse in Super Bowl 49. So this is a good hat right there. That was their 4th Super Bowl. And then probably my favorite Patriots Super Bowl of all time might be the great comeback, 28-3. The New England Patriots come back against the Atlanta Falcons from 28-3 to force overtime and ultimately win at the end of the game. Let's look at the tags on these things. I like to keep the tags on it. I got the Super Bowl 51 logo. I don't really like the hat quality for this one. It's a little bit more flimsy than the other hats. It's a little bit more lower quality, in my opinion here. So here it is. Super Bowl 51. That was a great game. Love that game. And then, of course, there's our most recent Super Bowl, Super Bowl 53. This is the one against the Rams in Atlanta, 13-3. It was a game that was all defense all night long. And then the Patriots finally got a touchdown at the end to put this game away. So it's great. I got all the hats. And who knows, maybe I'll get a 7th hat. It was my uncle that gifted me the first one when I was still in my teens. I was still in my teens, very late teens at that point when they won the first Super Bowl. And I was at the Raiders game in 2001. I was working security in that game. The only image of me at that game is basically me in like a yellow security jacket. I was in the end zone behind the field goal post, off to the left a little bit, heading towards the Patriots locker room when they kicked the game winner in overtime. I was literally right there as a young college kid, working security. And that was awesome. That was an unbelievable day. I was freezing all game long, but and most people in the crowd were like, I don't know if we're going to do this. I was actually in the highest part of the stadium most of the game. Then Brady dove in the end zone, scored a touchdown. Then they came up and flagged us. I was like in the nosebleed section. They came back and said, you, follow me. I'm like, oh, great. They're taking us out of the stadium. And then we banged the left, went down the stairs, and they aligned us around the field, which was awesome. And next thing I know, I was at field level. And didn't realize at the time I was about to witness, a moment in time for the New England Patriots. So as someone that didn't pay to be there, was paid to be there essentially, working security, essentially almost like volunteer. That was an unbelievable game. And that was just a great day in history to see the Patriots do what they did. I'm hoping that what's going to happen this year is this season is going to really emulate 2001 because I'm getting the 2001 vibes out of this team. I really am. I'm seeing a 2001 vibe where it's kind of that second-year quarterback, Drake May. Brady was a second-year quarterback, first-year starter in 2001. And I'm really hoping this team's going to shock the world again. It's like Adam Vinatieri said after they won the Super Bowl against the Rams in 2001, 2002, the game was played. We shocked the world, but we didn't shock ourselves because we always knew how good we were. And that Patriots team in 2001, by the time it was around November, I remember I was talking to one of my buddies. It was right after they beat the Browns or the Bengals. I think it was in Foxborough. And I said, man, I think this team can win the Super Bowl. I really do. I really think that this team has an honest shot at going all the way this year and winning this Super Bowl. And we took on the Raiders, which ended up being a much tougher game than expected. But then they went out to Pittsburgh, gave them a dogfight, and pulled it off. And then they were in the Super Bowl. And they had already played the Rams earlier in that year. And they had a great game plan, masterful game plan. I don't care about the Spygate stuff. Every team was guilty of Spygate. That's why the league enacted that rule. That's the truth about that. YourTeamCheats.com will tell you all about that. Every team got flagged for Spygate. So, that was a great year. That was honestly one of the greatest sports years as a sports fan in New England of my entire life. Loved it. The 04 Red Sox, the 08 Celtics were some of my favorite moments. And it was just an amazing, amazing time in sports. And just absolutely loved it so much. I'm just going to check the spaces to see if we have any call requests. Nothing yet. No call requests yet. Anybody's free to join whenever they'd like. Just note that this is a recorded show, so your audio would be recorded on this call on YouTube. But if you'd like to call, we see a few people there tuning in right now on Spaces. You're free to hit the microphone and call in and talk Patriots. If you're tuning in on YouTube, you're free to go to Spaces on X and join in. Have a conversation today. Tell us what your thoughts are about the New England Patriots. Let's go. But this year I'm hoping for kind of the same thing. It's a similar Patriots team. It's a team that I think is better than people give them credit for. Mac Hollins is back today, by the way. Mac Hollins is back, wide receiver for the Patriots. He's back in the lineup. He's been kind of our underdog, better than you expect wide receiver all year. You got Kayshon Boutte. You got Stephon Diggs. The game is on CBS, and it's on Paramount Plus as well. Oh, it's going to be awesome. Let's see what we got for messages here. Awesome. Perfect. It looks like the Patriots may not be able to. The Patriots making it back from. One second. The Patriots making it back after the game. Who knows how long they're going to be in Denver out there? They might be staying a couple days because of the snowstorm out here. So they may be stuck in Denver for a few days. It should be interesting. But I'm fired up today. I cannot wait for this game at 3:00. Had to do a show about it. Fervent Hospice in the house. Nunya's here. Glamasoo's. Rat House is here. A lot of all great people here. Scott McGinnis in the house. Stephanie Taunton, how you doing? A lot of great people here. But yeah, I'm hoping this is going to be one of those years. Oh, what do we got here? Law Girls Not Attorneys in the house. What's going on? Love it. We're ready, guys. We're ready to go. And I think, like I said, I feel that the Patriots roster, just like in 2001, I would say their defense this year. Kelly Reed's in the house. Kelly, what's going on? Hope you're doing well. Go Patriots. The big day today. Always pointing to the wrong side. Kelly Reed's in the house today. Love Kelly Reed. Love the Reed family. And the defense fund for Karen Reed's civil suit, civil defense, is pinned to the chat. Kelsey Fitzsimmons links are not, sorry, they're pinned in they're listed in the description for Kelsey Fitzsimmons, Turtleboy, Karen Reed. We're just supporting everybody, fighting for justice for all. That's my attitude on all of this. And that's the way we're keeping it. It's justice focused. Help out who you decide you'd like to help. But Karen Reed can always use our help. And we love the Reed family and love them all to death. And she says, love you too, Mazza. Go Patriots. Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate it. But yeah, I would say the 0-1 Patriots defense is better than this year's Patriots defense. But I'd actually say the Patriots offense this year was better than an 0-1. Brady was solid that year. Antoine Smith was solid that year. Troy Brown and David Patton were all solid. We had Kevin Falk on the 0-1 team, but I think this team's a little bit better offensively. I think they have you got Stephon Diggs, who I would argue is better than – this is a tough statement to make because I love Troy Brown. But I'd say that Stephon Diggs is slightly better than Troy Brown was in 0-1. That's a horrible statement to make because Troy Brown to me is one of my favorite Patriots of all time. The running game, I think, is better. It's just my argument, but that's how I feel. I think our tight end game is the most obvious superiority to 0-1 with Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, and compared to Rod Rutledge. And I don't even know who the other tight end was in the Patriots in 0-1, but I think their offense is pretty comparable or consistent. I love Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson. You also have, like I said, a great receiving game. You got Booty, you got Diggs, you got Hollins, you got Demario Douglas, you got the two tight ends. The offensive line, Will Campbell did struggle last week. Mike Vrabel kind of gave him a pat on the shoulder and said, hey, put your head up. The guy is a rookie, and he also was taking on the Texans defense last week. So I do think that ultimately Dennis Sweeney is in the house. Go Patriots, Dennis. Go Patriots. Love it. And love Dennis Sweeney. Love Brenda Sweeney. Fervent giving a nice shout out here. Kelly Reed giving a nice shout out to Fervent here. You have great videos, she says. Absolutely. Fervent's got great videos. Follow him on Twitter. Love it. And again, if you're there watching on Twitter, you want to call in, hit the microphone, and we'll get you on the show if you'd like to call in. Someone says, Brady was never much of a runner. Drake May is not to leave the pocket. Yeah. Well, here's the thing, though. I noticed that I want to talk about this. The game was on again yesterday. It was the Bills and Broncos. They replayed it on the NFL Network. I was about to head out, and I was watching about the first quarter of that game, and I noticed a few things. A couple things stood out to me. Number one, even though the Broncos won last week, they gave up 30 points to the Buffalo Bills. 30 points. The final score was 33-30 last week. Yeah. So for anybody trying to say that the Broncos defense is better than the Texans defense, look at the score last week. Josh Allen, no question, one of the top quarterbacks in the league. However, Drake May has been also one of the top quarterbacks in the league all year. I would argue that we still have a better defense than the Bills. We were up 21-0 on them. We beat them before. Patriots just lost that second game to the Bills, which was unfortunate. But I noticed that Josh Allen was able to run in for a touchdown in that game last week. I noticed that their running backs were getting into the end zone or actually having a lot of pretty sizable gains when they were rushing. I noticed that. And I also noticed that passes to running backs were very successful. So I do feel that the Patriots, with their multitude of weapons here, plentiful wide receivers, plentiful at tight end, plentiful at running back, have more than enough ability and more than enough talent to get this job done today in Denver. There is no reason why. I just don't think the Denver defense is better than Houston. Whether they're better than the Chargers or not is up for debate. I'd imagine the Broncos are going to have a good game, but Sean Payton is the head coach of the Broncos, who most notably coached the New Orleans Saints in the Drew Brees era, who won the Super Bowl, defeating the Colts in Super Bowl 44, is not always necessarily known for being an expert on defense. His offenses is usually his number one feature as a coach. So I do feel that the New England Patriots, one second, let's check this here. There we go. I do feel that the Patriots can get by this Broncos defense. I absolutely believe they can. I think that they have enough talent, enough weapons. You got Josh McDaniels. I fought with my friends years back about this. Everyone was saying, fire Josh McDaniels. Like, why would you want to fire Josh McDaniels? He's been your coordinator in multiple Super Bowl appearances for multiple Super Bowl victories. And now that he's back, look at the way Drake May has been performing this year. Drake May has had an MVP candidate-based season, could actually be the NFL MVP this season. No question about it. So when we look at everything, it's like, look, they have the weapons. They can get through this defense today. They've already taken on two of the best defenses in the league. Quite frankly, I'm not afraid of Denver's defense. I'm not afraid of Seattle's defense. And the Rams, I would say, have the third best defense of all the teams left in the league. Just one moment, please. Okay. Sorry about that. They have good defenses. But if the Patriots could take the Texans' defense, then there's no reason why this Patriots offense or any Patriots fan or any Patriots coach should be in any way concerned. I'm not talking about being arrogant. I'm just talking about not being intimidated. There's no reason to be intimidated by this Broncos defense, in my opinion. So long as the Patriots call the right plays, make the right adjustments. If certain plays aren't working, if the protections aren't working, change the protections, do what you got to do, and move that ball down the field and get that ball in the end zone all day long. That's what we need to do all game long. Score, push that ball down the field, use running plays, pass to your running backs, hit your tight ends, hit your receivers, move that ball down the field. And I think it's going to be a great day. And I don't think the Patriots are going to be too intimidated by checking to see if there's any calls coming in. I'm going to get a drink of water. I don't think there's any reason to fear this defense. And I know Jay Cornish is a Seahawks fan. I don't think there's any reason to fear the Seahawks defense either. Kenneth Walker is another story, though. Kenneth Walker is a heck of a running back. And he's one of the ultimate weapons for the Seattle Seahawks. And the Seahawks have a great defense, too. But I know our screen game is not too bad, not too good, but if they have an opportunity to hit some of those screen passes, go for it. That's what I say. But yeah, I think ultimately the Patriots offense is going to walk in there today, handle business, move the ball down the field. If you knock down your field goals every chance you get, if you can't score a touchdown, get in field goal range, get out there, score all game long, move the ball down the field. Now, the other side of things. Let's talk about the other side of the game. Patriots offense versus Broncos defense we've discussed. We're not too concerned about them. We're respective of them. We know they're going to be a great defense. They're probably going to get a few sacks today. They might even get a turnover. Hopefully no more than one. They will. But I think our offense should have no problem outperforming them when it comes down to the nuts and bolts of the game. Now, the other side of the field. The Broncos offense. No Bo Nix. Bo Nix is just like Drake May. He's a rising star in this game. It's just like when Brady was young and Michael Vick and Peyton Manning and Donovan McNabb and Drew Brees were all kind of aspiring talents in the NFL. Bo Nix and Drake May are kind of in their early 2000s era of their career right now. Bo Nix is not playing. We're taking on the Broncos offense without their starting quarterback, a kid, Bo Nix, who, again, has a great future ahead of him, in my opinion. The Broncos could very well be in and win a Super Bowl with Bo Nix. Hopefully that doesn't start today with Jarrett Stidham, because I'd hate to lose to our former backup, to say the least. That would be horrible. And, I'm looking at their talent offensively. I think they have a solid roster, but I don't see, again, any reason why our Patriots defense is going to have an issue. I'm just going to take a look at their roster, actually, because I'm just wondering some things. One sec. My ultimate argument is this. I'm going to say this. The only offense I think the Patriots are going to struggle with if they play them is going to be the Rams with Matt Stafford and that offense over there. I think that they're going to have, their hands full with Matt Stafford. He's an MVP candidate. But I also think Matt Stafford can be shut down. I think there's no question about that at all. Cortland Sutton, he's one of the notable receivers over there. Let's check and see if anybody's calling him. He's one of the notable receivers over there. You got talent to cover him. You got Christian Gonzalez. You got someone like him that, according to the Boston Herald, there is a Kareen Reed playing for the Broncos. That's funny. That's funny. That's interesting. But yeah, I think that they'd have a difficult time against Matt Stafford. I think that, if they played the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, they'd have a little bit of tough, Kenneth Walker would be tough to stop, obviously. But I think that there's no reason why the Broncos offense should present anything more. Cortland Sutton, okay, you got him, no problem. We got Christian Gonzalez for him. Christian Gonzalez has shut down quite a few people. He's held a lot of receivers to limited receiving numbers, limited touchdowns. So, that's great. You got a wide receiver, but we got Christian Gonzalez. So there's that. There's that argument right then and there. So I think we have the defense. I think we got Christian Barmore. You got Milton Williams. That is a defensive line that is iron right there. So, again, pocket pressure today on Jarrett Stidham all game, and just pressure him all game, get him riled in the pocket, ruffle his feathers, do what you got to do, and just keep him off his game all day long. That is the attitude. That is the approach to this game. Just do that all game long. My attitude is this. If the NFL is rigged, if the NFL is truly rigged, and every Super Bowl we've seen for like the last 30, 40 years was all basically orchestrated, I'm not too afraid. Because here's the thing. Roger Goodell has no issue with Tom Brady or Bob Kraft if the NFL was rigged. Because obviously, Brady, let's just say it was all fake and rigged for a second. Let's take this walk. Okay. If it was rigged, then they let Brady win with the Bucs in Super Bowl 55. Goodell hates Belichick. So if the league was rigged, what better idea for Goodell in the NFL and to rig a Super Bowl for the Patriots? So Brady wins one without Belichick, and now Kraft wins a Super Bowl without Belichick. Brady and Belichick are just sitting together with like their Super Bowl 55 and Super Bowl 60 trophies, just like, we got these without Belichick, man. That I'm just saying that would be funny. That would just be funny if that's what happened. But yeah, I'm not too worried about the referees. I'm not too worried. So I just think that, there might be some bad calls. There's always going to be bad calls, but I'm not expecting a game today where it's like yellow flags all over the place in favor of the Broncos. I don't see that coming. So I think there's going to be some bad calls, and hopefully there's no game-determining calls. I would just say this to the NFL. If you're rigging games right now, do you really want Jarrett Stidham as a quarterback for the Broncos? Of course, it would probably be an awesome underdog story, though. Like, this guy has been a backup his whole career. Then all of a sudden the starting quarterback goes down. Like, Jarrett Stidham, who's basically a no-name, leads the Broncos to the Super Bowl. That would actually be a pretty wild story. That would probably be the wildest story since Kurt Warner was bagging groceries and then led the Rams to the Super Bowl victory in Super Bowl 34 against the Tennessee Titans. Yeah. So, yeah, that would be interesting. That is for sure. Yeah, Big Ben winning it essentially in his second year. Super Bowl 40 was the Seahawks and Steelers. Steelers had a great run that year. No question about it. Yeah, rigging games because nobody's watching. Yeah, exactly. You never know if these sports are rigged. That's the thing I always worry about, too. It's, like Aqib Talib. He got hurt in the AFC Championship back-to-back years one year. It was the AFC Championship against the Ravens to go to Super Bowl 47. And all of a sudden, Aqib Talib comes out down with this injury. The very next year, the Patriots are playing in Denver, trying to go to Super Bowl 48. And again, Aqib Talib, cornerback for the Patriots, gets injured. This time, I think, in the first quarter. I remember fondly seeing Vince Wilfork walking up to him on the sidelines and saying, "What's this? What's you're injured again in the AFC Championship? What's your problem? You're standing up. You're fine." I was always worried that Aqib Talib was bought off. And Talib was a great cornerback for us. He really was. He was absolutely fantastic. But I had my concerns and I had grave concerns that he was actually getting paid to throw the game or fake injuries. I'm still convinced of that to this day. And to me, I just thought his injuries were suspicious. Not necessarily maybe the first one, but the one against the Broncos, it was all of a sudden, oh, he's hurt right away. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Because that Patriots, I think that year in 2015 was the year where the Broncos came to New England and they were beating us like 24-3. And we came back and beat them on Sunday Night Football. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was that year. And then we went out to Denver and all hell broke loose and Talib's out and the Patriots lose the game. So those are games that make me wonder, are players played? And people will say to you, well, having a conspiracy theory, thinking games are rigged, blah, 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 you're out of your mind. Well, let me ask you this question. There was a story that just broke about NCAA basketball a week or two ago. And they were legitimately talking about players point shaving all throughout NCAA basketball. That was a major scandal a week or two ago. So this could be happening at the NFL level. You never know. I mean, maybe they're not rigging games, but maybe there's players that are getting money under the table or deals under the table, and they're going out there and they're underperforming. You never know. You never know. I don't know. That's what I worry about, because I thought there were a lot of years that the Patriots had teams that could have won the Super Bowl or gone there. In 2015, I thought so. In 2010, I thought so. 2012, not really. I thought they were here and there that year, but that's that's always a concern for me. Is the Patriots? That's a concern for every fan base, because I mean, look, there's a lot of anti-Patriots fans out there. People that hate the Patriots. They still think they've rigged this league for us. The Patriots always get the call. The Patriots always, get favorable calls. But I can assure you that I don't know what the league's doing. I don't know. I question sports sometimes. I do. I still question Game 7 of the 2010 NBA Finals when the Celtics were playing the Lakers. And the Celtics were up around 10 to 14 points most of that game. Then in the fourth quarter, whistle, whistle, whistle all over the Celtics. Then the Celtics were in the penalty, which meant that every time they fouled from that point on, the Lakers would ultimately go to the free throw line to shoot free throws, obviously. And what happened there was the Lakers won that game. Came back, their defense picked up, they won it. But, I do get concerned that referees and officiating can't influence games, but you just never know. Tim Donaghy, who was an official for the NBA, ended up going to jail over this. And he was quoted as saying, don't think I'm the only referee that does that. So when you watch sports, you just never know if there's a fix-in, if there's an official with bias. Is there a player faking an injury? Is there a player missing shots in the NBA on purpose, or blowing defensive plays or offensive catches on purpose? Or is there officiating that is there a paid official? Those are the things I think people worry about sports when they watch these games, is a lot of people often think that their team lost because the game was rigged. And I feel that way. I mean, I feel that way about Game 7 in the 2010 NBA Finals. I was concerned about the 2015 AFC Championship out in Denver, about Aqib Talib, getting hurt so early in that game. So there's times where I look at these games and I'm like, I don't know. Is this game legitimate? Is there a fix-in? Because, again, sports has a way of, players can get paid. Referees can get paid. One or two. If a referee can make one or two influential calls in the sports game, that can completely. I mean, if say the Patriots get a big run, and actually I think that happened last week. Wasn't there a controversial pass interference call last week where I think it was the Denver Broncos, if I'm not mistaken, the Houston Texans last week. There was a controversial defensive play, and then there was no call on pass interference. So it's just, that's an issue too. But you never know. Maybe the referee's not fixing the game. Maybe the referee's not paid off, or maybe the referee's just horrible. And there's a lot of evidence in football to suggest a lot of times these NFL officials are not properly educated, don't know what they're talking about, don't have a full understanding of the rules. And, you saw this with Belichick year in and year out. He'd get into it with the officials. argue with them, quarrel with them, and I think that's the reason why the NFL should actually have these referees on salary year long and actually implement a training camp for these officials in the off season, to have them make sure they understand the rules at a higher level, make sure these officials are competent. Because, the NFL is a big business. It's a billion-dollar industry. The Super Bowl is one of the most marketable events in the history of the entire world, from a ticket sales standpoint to a television standpoint. Commercials for the Super Bowl are the most expensive commercials for any broadcast that you will ever see. And, the NFL, they could basically pay their officials year round, keep their minds fresh year round, especially when new rules come out. Every year the new rules hit. Do the referees fully understand them? And I think the NFL should invest money in their officials by paying them year round and having an off-season training camp for them for about 2 months, just to make sure that they're fully prepared to make the right calls and have film study, have paid analysts from the NFL to point out with each referee, just like the players do, to watch film, see where they made bad calls, maybe take a few plays from a few different games, have the referees in the offseason study these plays. Like that controversial call between the Saints and the Rams in 2018 ultimately dictated the Rams going to the Super Bowl to play the Patriots in Super Bowl 53 as opposed to the Saints. So, maybe they could break down film like that with these referees year in and year out and just say, okay, is this really a penalty or not? I think that'd be a way to build fan confidence, but also build up your referees. Players, everyday practice. Why not the referees as well? You know what I mean? Oh, they are. CBS is doing a walk down memory lane right now for Stidham. That's funny. He was an interesting quarterback. I actually thought he was going to be a pretty solid backup quarterback for the Patriots. I really did. I thought he was going to be someone that could be reliable, but ultimately they decided to move on from him. But anybody that's ever been an athlete, though, you always believe in yourself more than everybody else believes in you. You know what I mean? Like, you're always going to be the person that believes in yourself the most. So I truly feel that if you're Jarrett Stidham, like, you're kind of sitting there like, this is great. Why would you not? Like Drew Bledsoe in the 2001 AFC Championship when Brady went down. Drew Bledsoe was like, yes, I get to play now. I can lead my team to the Super Bowl because I've been here longer than Brady. It's always something that you want as a player. Like, you don't want to see your teammates ever get hurt. You don't want to ever have a cutthroat mentality, but you do want to have an opportunity to play. No player with a level of competitiveness ever wants to say to themselves, oh, gee, I hope I sit on the bench. Oh, gee, I hope I don't play. Oh, geez, I hope I'm not the star of the team. Not a star in a selfish way, but a star in a productive way to help contribute to your team winning the game. Every player wants to play. Every player wants to be as good as they possibly can. Everybody wants to have that shining moment where they hit the game, throw the game-winning touchdown, kick the game-winning field goal, hit the game-winning home run, hit the game-winning shot in basketball, score the game-winning goal in hockey, or soccer. Every player wants that opportunity. So if you're Jarrett Stidham, nobody is more excited for this game today based on an opportunity to go from a bench player to now playing in an AFC championship game. Your first start in the AFC championship. We got Karen Reed, Civil Defense Fund, also here today. Glenn, feel free to post anything you want for Turtleboy, Kelsey Fitzsimmons. I have all the links pinned in the description as well. Help out who you choose. I think that's how I look at justice, with all these stories. I know there's a lot of back and forth out there online, but I think at the end of the day, pick who you want to support. If you want to support everyone, go for it. You want to donate, please do. The flying goal, Bobby Orr. Absolutely. That was a heck of a day. I wasn't alive for that one, but I've watched that goal plenty of times in my life. I've seen the statue outside the Garden as well, which is awesome. 12:49 on the East Coast right now. Snowing like crazy. The game is almost 2 hours away from kickoff. Diane G in the house. Hope you're doing well. Again, if you're on X today, no calls in yet. We can get a couple of call-ins. If you're tuning in on X, you can hit the mic to request to talk. And I'll take your call live on the air. The call will be a recorded call, just so you know, because this is on YouTube. It'll be from Spaces, but on YouTube. So if you want to go to Spaces right now and talk to me today, talk about the Patriots, give your opinion on today's game, please do. We're going to have a good time here. I'm not sure how much longer the show will go on for. I'm planning for about 2 hours, but if I run out of some steam here, I might be like, okay, maybe we'll cut it shorter than usual. So yeah, I got Cool Ranch Doritos ready to go, chicken wings that I'm going to prep today, and I'm going to use the same exact sauce I did for the chicken I made last week. And then we got some jalapenos, stuffed jalapenos with cheese, cheddar cheese, cream cheese, and then also they're wrapped in bacon. So I picked a few of those up from the store as well. So yeah, I'm looking for a great day. I'm going to kind of treat this almost like the Super Bowl today, because again, you don't know. This could be the last Patriots game, or for all you know, this could be the game that sends the Patriots to the Super Bowl. And this would be the Patriots' 12th Super Bowl appearance, if you can believe it. The first ever Super Bowl appearance for the Patriots was in the 1985 season in the 1986 Super Bowl, Super Bowl 20. They lost to the Bears. The Chicago Bears beat up the Patriots that day. Then, just check and see if any calls are coming. Oh, it's like, is anybody calling? Is anybody calling? Let's see. When you see new people join the Spaces, you sometimes think that's a call prompt, but yeah, call in. Call in on Spaces, and we'll have a conversation about the Patriots. Chicken breasts for fajitas. Good. That's going to be great. Fajitas are awesome. Love fajitas. Yeah, so the Patriots lost Super Bowl 20. Then they went to Super Bowl 31. That's the first Super Bowl I remember watching. I've been alive for all of them, but I do not remember Super Bowl 20 at all. Super Bowl 31 devastated me as a kid. That was against the Green Bay Packers. Brett Favre and Reggie White, two of the greatest players to ever play in the NFL, against the Patriots, who had Drew Bledsoe, Ty Law, Ben Coates, Vincent Brisby, Curtis Martin, Bruce Armstrong, Teddy Bruschi, Ted Johnson, Troy Brown, Otis Smith, Lawyer Malloy, Chris Slade, Willie McGinnis. A lot of great Patriots in that game, but they had some holes. Max Lane got beat up pretty bad by Reggie White in that game. The Patriots lost that Super Bowl. So the Patriots were 0 for 2. Yeah, Desmond Howard. My uncle said to me when I was a kid, he goes, Mark will never forget the name Desmond Howard. And my uncle is still right about that to this day. Same uncle that got me my Patriots Super Bowl 36 hat because he knew how devastated I was. My uncle doesn't live in Mass. Well, he lives in Massachusetts, but far away. So he always would ship it to my grandfather. Then my grandfather would hand me the gifts my uncle would get me. Mark Cunningham's in the house. My guy. Yeah, so my uncle got me this hat. So he'd always mail it to my grandfather. Then every time I'd go over to my grandfather's, because I did yard work for my grandfather for many, many years, probably from like the mid to late 90s, all the way to like the year before his death or the year of his death. I'd always do yard work every Saturday for my grandfather for about an hour a weekend. So my grandfather would always walk around and say, Mark, I got you got a hat here from your uncle. And I remember getting this hat. And I was very happy to get this gift. This is a very nice gift from my uncle, and I appreciate it. This is just an awesome hat. Probably my favorite Patriots Super Bowl hat of them all. I like the design, but I also like the logo. How they put the logo on the top of the hat here, which was really cool. And I always like the back of this hat as well, with the Super Bowl 36 champions on the back. So that was a great hat. I liked it a lot, and I was always happy to get this hat and wear it around. I don't wear these hats often. Usually when I throw these hats on, it's after I watch the Super Bowl highlights. I'll get all sentimental every now and then, and I'll throw the hat on, have a good time. But showed off these hats earlier. Super Bowl 38. I do like the logo on the side of this hat as well. I was never really a big fan of the design of this hat. But, yeah, so Super Bowl 36, the Patriots' third Super Bowl, they got there, and they took on the Rams, and they won. So, again, this is going to be our 12th Super Bowl appearance if we get there today, which is unbelievable. So that was the third Patriots Super Bowl appearance. The fourth Super Bowl appearance you just saw, Super Bowl 38. And like I said earlier in the show, this is one of the most underrated Super Bowls ever, but that was their second Super Bowl victory and their fourth appearance. And then the Patriots just kept rolling in these Super Bowls, where they went to their fifth Super Bowl and won their third Super Bowl. And like I said, I got this a week before the Giants Super Bowl. Super Bowl 42 because I wanted to make sure, because I was gearing up to get a Super Bowl 42 championship hat. Then my life was ruined by the New York Giants game. Oh, I hate that game. I hate that game so much. Let's see what we got for comments here. So yeah, the Patriots went to their 6th Super Bowl and lost in the most devastating fashion possibly to the New York Giants. Then they go back a couple of years later and they take on the Giants again, lose again. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Twice to the New York Giants. Awful. Awful. Screw you, Eli Manning. Burn, New York Giants, burn. All right, so finally, let's see, how many Super Bowl appearances are we at now? The first 2, then 5. So this was the 8th Super Bowl appearance. The Patriots were now in their 8th Super Bowl appearance, and they finally win again for the 4th time. So they were like 4-4 in Super Bowls at this point. The Patriots have actually lost more Super Bowls than the Buffalo Bills, if you can believe it. So the Patriots win their 4th one by defeating the Seattle Seahawks. Richard Sherman's reaction was amazing. And this was I lost my mind. I'll tell you right now, honestly, I lost my mind when we won the Super Bowl because we had already lost twice to the Giants in 2 previous Super Bowls. Then I remember them showing Brady when Curse made that catch. And Brady's just like, am I really going to lose 3 Super Bowls in a row to giant catches? Like every single time, is there going to be a deep down the field pass that's going to result in us losing the Super Bowl? And it was going to happen again against Seattle. But then Malcolm Butler was like, no, not today. We're winning the Super Bowl. And the Patriots, after that interception, kneeled the ball a few times. The Patriots got their 4th Super Bowl victory in 8 tries. Unbelievable. Absolutely awesome. Now, the Patriots go to their 9th Super Bowl. 9th Super Bowl. I was redoing the math. The wildest Super Bowl 49 against the Seahawks had the most wild ending. And it was a great game between 2 teams that were awesome. And the Seattle Seahawks back then were like a dynasty in the making. They were going to be the Chiefs. They were going to be the Patriots after the Patriots and the Chiefs before the Chiefs. That's where the Seahawks were at that time. They were ready for back-to-back Super Bowls. Now, our 9th appearance is the wildest Super Bowl I've ever seen in my life. Down 28-3, there'd never been a comeback like that. The Patriots come back against the Falcons and win it. 34-28 in the first ever overtime game. Unbelievable. Now, the next Super Bowl, the 10th Patriots Super Bowl appearance, is a loss to the Eagles. This is where a lot of people turned on Bill Belichick. And I think this is really where Brady and Belichick, this is really what was the early makings of the end of the Brady era, unfortunately, in New England. And what would ultimately set off the ending of the Belichick era. So basically, right as soon as all week long leading up to this Eagles Super Bowl, I'm like, we have everything we need to win. We have, Edelman's out. Dante Hightower's out. Whatever. We have enough talent. We got Gronk. We got Brandon Cooks. We got, we actually had, what's his name from the Steelers was on our team that year. I can't remember his name right now. Harrington? I forget his name, but he was on the team that year from the Steelers. Marvin Harrison. Not Marvin Harrison. James Harrison? Maybe it was James Harrison, I think, was on the Patriots that we had him on the team that year. And he was the guy, James Harrison. He was the guy that had the return for the touchdown for the Steelers against the Cardinals in Super Bowl 43. We had him on that team. We still had Malcolm Butler. We had all this. Now we're taking on Nick Foles, okay? So here we are talking about Jarrett Stidham and how we can beat the Broncos because they only have Jarrett Stidham. We go up against Nick Foles, okay, who is essentially, I would say, the least talented quarterback the Patriots ever played in a Super Bowl. I'm being very honest here. Jake Delhomme was not much of a star, but he was a good quarterback. Eli Manning, he was an okay quarterback. I'd say a standard second-tier quarterback in the NFL. Had great games against the Patriots both times, or good enough games. But Nick Foles was really, before Jared Goff, really going to be the worst quarterback we ever played in the Super Bowl. They go, that offense runs wild. Now, there's a major problem with this entire game, and it starts off during the national anthem. And this is where me and so many of my friends became divided on Bill Belichick, was that he decides to sit Malcolm Butler before this game. All right. This is like a winnable Super Bowl. All we got to really do is go out in the field, make a couple stops on defense. Brady's going to drive us right to the Super Bowl, and we're getting another hat, we're getting another ring, we're getting another banner, we're getting another T-shirt, everything. We're good. This Super Bowl 52, we're going to win it. Now, Doug Peterson, the coach of the Eagles, understands one thing about the Patriots. It's that every Super Bowl the Patriots are in, and this is one of the things I hate about Belichick, and I love about Vrabel, because he does it differently, is Belichick always kind of kept the pace kind of subdued in every Patriots Super Bowl you'd watch. They would never score in the first quarter. It was like every single time with the Brady Belichick era. No scoring. Nothing would happen. They would just go out there 3 and out, maybe get a first down, punt the ball. We'd stop team defenses left and right, and our defense would perform, and that would be it. And it would always result in games that were really tight at the end. Now, the Falcons, when they played us, decided to just go all out and just basically sprint. The next thing you knew, it was like 14-0 or 21-3 or 28-3 because the Falcons are like sprinting. But they run out of gas. And then the Patriots figure things out, get the game going, and come back and win. But the Patriots had such a slow start, and the Falcons came out sprinting and ran out of gas. Now, the thing about the Eagles is, the next year, Super Bowl 52, is the Eagles do the same exact thing that the Falcons do. They come out sprinting, and the Patriots are trying to keep the pace all game long. And they try to, it's like constantly they're trying to compete. But the problem is the Patriots defense is not making enough stops. They give up 41 points in this game. The Patriots gave up 41 points with a Belichick defense to the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'd imagine they don't go over 30 points against us if Malcolm Butler's playing that game. Because once Belichick does this, it changes everything. And the Eagles are like, oh, man, they're going to sit Malcolm Butler? This is great. Let's just go. Let's go for it on 4th down. They were converting on 3rd down. They were converting on 4th down over and over in that game. And that was the issue, was if you had Malcolm Butler, you probably stop him on a 3rd down. You probably stop him on a 4th down. The Philly special probably still happens, but whatever. That cost them the game. If they had Malcolm Butler, that whole game changes. They win that game, no question about it. So that's where people get really divided. And I really think when it comes to Brady, Belichick, and Bob Kraft, that's really the apex of what determines the future of the New England Patriots going forward. And I think Brady and Belichick, as much as they say they might love each other, there was a level of divide there. Because Brady had the game. Tom Brady, in Super Bowl 52 against the Eagles, had the greatest performance he ever had in a Super Bowl. He had like 500 yards passing, endless touchdowns. Brandon Cooks got knocked out of the game, but didn't even matter. Brady was unstoppable in that game. They scored 33 points. How do you score 33 points and lose the game? If you score 33 points and lose, it's your defense's fault. And if Belichick's not playing Malcolm Butler in that game, that's where the blame goes to Belichick. I don't care what Malcolm Butler did. I really don't. Fine the guy. I don't care if you're going to fine Malcolm Butler $100,000 or $200,000. You play him in the game. You do not penalize the player, the team, the coaching staff, the fan base. And I think that's what people love about Mike Vrabel right now, is that he's a player's coach. And as great of a coach as Belichick was, he was always just penalizing players. Like the time he penalized Adelius Thomas because Adelius Thomas was late for practice because there was a snowstorm outside. Well, there's going to be a penalty for that. It's like, dude, it's a snowstorm. It's a snowstorm. Don't give me this, oh, you should have got out there early. Just be a little more gracious with your team. Push practice back a half an hour. I understand there's going to be, you gotta have a level of discipline and accountability. I do. But there's also times where exceptions need to be made. Maybe you could have just fined them. I don't know. But I thought Belichick would sometimes go a little too overboard. with little things like that. I have no problem with enforcing players being on time. I think that's a great thing to enforce as a head coach, and every team should do it. But I think if there is a snowstorm, a player should never put their life, the team before their own life and their own personal safety. That's just my particular opinion. All right, the 10th Patriots. Wait. Nope, the Eagles was the 10th Patriots Super Bowl appearance. The 11th Patriots Super Bowl appearance ends with a happy ending. The one thing I always asked about the Patriots Belichick era, Brady Belichick era, was I wanted them to win. No matter how many Super Bowls they won and lost together with Brady and Belichick, I always wanted them to make sure they at least won the very last Super Bowl that they were ever in together. They accomplished that because I was worried Super Bowl 52 was going to be the last one. I didn't want to always look back at the Patriots Brady Belichick era with a Super Bowl loss. So fortunately, they came back the next year, pushed all the problems aside, got it done, and won. So someone goes, stop it with the they hate us nonsense. Grow up. Grow up. But, it was great because they won. And this was, I still love Bill Belichick too. I still love him too. I'm just frustrated with him sometimes. He's the greatest coach of all time. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like, oh, we could have beat the Eagles. I'm a competitor. I'm the kind of person who wants to see the Patriots win the Super Bowl every year. That's the kind of reality I live in. But yes, they beat the Rams, and the Rams Super Bowl was the opposite of the Eagles Super Bowl. It was defense all game long. And the Rams had an amazing defense. They had Aaron Donald, and they had Ndamukong Suh, and they had a familiar face, Aqib Talib, as a quarterback on that team. And that Rams defense was unbelievable. Yes, 11 Super Bowl appearances, 6 wins, 5 losses. The Patriots are tied for the most Super Bowl wins in history with the Steelers at 6 apiece. And we are we have the most Super Bowl losses, actually. So the Bills lost 4 in a row, but we've actually lost 5 Super Bowls. So, yeah, that's one thing that, we don't want to have is we continue to lose more Super Bowls. So, yes, Belichick and Brady, no matter what happens the year before, they come back in Super Bowl 53, and it's a defensive gridlock game. Now, fortunately, the Rams offense is led by Jared Goff, who's a pretty solid quarterback now, but at the time wasn't really at the peak of his ability and kind of was an underperforming quarterback. He's been really good with Detroit, in my opinion. But they had Todd Gurley at running back, who was pretty much your Marshall Faulk equivalent from Super Bowl 36 on the Rams. But this was an amazing game in terms of defense. It was an old school, grinded out. 13-3 was the final score. And the game was tied at 3 for most of the game. The Rams never really felt like any significant threat throughout the game from an offensive standpoint. But the Rams defense was so good. Possibly the best defense. I'd probably say the best defense the Patriots have played. I'd say the best defenses the Patriots have played in the Super Bowl were probably the Giants in Super Bowl 42, the Seahawks in Super Bowl 49, even though they gave up 28 points. I thought that Seahawks defense was still really good. I also thought that Patriots offense was armed to the teeth. They had Gronk, Amendola, Edelman, the running game with LeGarrette Blount. They had not Deion Lewis, not Sony Michel. They had Shane Vereen on that team as well. They were very good, the Patriots offense. But yeah, you had a Patriots offense in Super Bowl 53 against the Rams with Julian Edelman, Gronk. You also had Sony Michel on that team. I think Deion Lewis was on that team. And then the defense had Stephon Gilmore. Hightower was back. And you had Jason McCourty, the twin brother of Devin McCourty, was now on that team. So they were armed to the teeth on defense and won it out. And it was great. So 6 Super Bowl wins for the Patriots and not many losses. I mean, well, actually, I'm thinking about the AFC Championship. Sorry. 5 losses as well. But, hey, overall, my attitude with the Patriots is just try to get to as many Super Bowls as you possibly can. Try to win as many of them as you can. It is tough to win the Super Bowl. Let's be honest. It's very tough to get there. But when you're in that game, it's a 60-minute game. You saw the 0-1 Patriots. They grinded it out against the Rams and won. Vice versa, we've seen what the New York Giants have done, the Eagles have done to us. I always remind Eagles fans, we beat you in the Super Bowl too. So it's always a grinded out game. But I think the thing is this year, getting back to this year's Patriots, I think we're well coached. We have Mike Vrabel, who's a coaching equivalent of Bill Belichick. He's a more personable coach, which I like. You have Drake May, who could potentially be a young version of Tom Brady for all we know. I don't necessarily think he'll ever get to the Brady level, but I think he can get to a consistent Pro Bowl level. And I think you get Josh McDaniel, like Darcy just said, who's an offensive coordinator. He's good. Defense has been good this year. You got Christian Gonzalez back there, who's the modern day representation of a Ty Law, a Darrelle Revis, a Stephon Gilmore, a Malcolm Butler. So we get a really good cornerback there. You get a pretty solid, reliable linebacking crew. I think we have a great defensive line, obviously. Barmore, Milton, Williams. So you got a lot of weapons. I mean, you have a lot of weapons. There's no reason why the Patriots, even if the Patriots happen to lose today, there's no reason and no excuse why it shouldn't be a close game if they lose, right? If they go to the Super Bowl and lose, there's no reason why it shouldn't be a close game. I think the Patriots have enough to compete. They should be competitive today. If they go to the Super Bowl, they should be competitive in that game. I think I'd rather play the Seahawks than the Rams. I just don't want to see the Patriots have to play a quarterback that's too good. Some people might laugh at that are non-Patriots fans, but I think that if you take on, an injured Justin Herbert, CJ Stroud, Jarrett Stidham instead of Bo Nix, then you take on Sam Darnold in the Seahawks. You're not really dealing with a quarterback that I would say is anywhere above average, which is great because that means it really comes down to the Patriots offense competing against the other team's defense. I think if you take on Matthew Stafford has won a Super Bowl. The Rams have won a Super Bowl recently as well. They won Super Bowl 56. They defeated Joe Burrow, and the Cincinnati Bengals in a very close game just a few years back. So they have Super Bowl experience. Their roster has turned over a little bit as well. Aaron Donald's no longer on the team, which is great. But the Seahawks did beat the Rams pretty strongly a couple weeks ago as well. I think they're 1-1 against each other this year. So yeah, I think I personally think this Patriots team has the coaching staff to beat any team that's left. I think we have the personnel to do it. I think it's just a matter of whether their ability to play and the game plan come together and they're able to execute everything against their opponent. So I would say this. I would say there's a solid chance we can go all the way this year. I do. And if for any reason the Patriots don't go all the way this year, keep in mind one thing. They have a lot of salary cap space still. They can sign a lot of people in the offseason and win it too. So I figure, you know what? We got a shot at it. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I'll be upset if they lose today or in 2 weeks. But I won't be devastated because I'll still be sitting there and saying, I think they can come back next week or next year. I think they can still get some players, build the team up even more, build up the offensive line, build up the defense even more. Drake May will be 1 year better, so they'll have an opportunity. And when you look at the original Patriots dynasty, Tom Brady was better every year. Super Bowl 36, Super Bowl 38, Super Bowl 39. Brady was progressively better every year. They only had more and more opportunity to win every year. You can look at guys like David Gibbons and Deion Branch. They were better in Super Bowl 39 that season than they were the year before. And then they eventually got Corey Dillon on the team. So you got the team has a lot of opportunity here. So they could start winning Super Bowls in this new era now. And even if they don't, there's a new window now. This is no longer an age issue. This is no longer a matter of Tom Brady versus time. This is no longer a matter of how long Bill Belichick can coach. You have Mike Vrabel, who's the coach right now, who could foreseeably be the coach for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. You have Drake May, who could foreseeably be the quarterback for the next 5, 10, 15 years. So you have a coach and a quarterback that can be there. You have Josh McDaniels. I don't think Josh McDaniels is going to leave again to be a head coach. I think he's just going to be a coordinator. I believe he's going to be here with Vrabel for years to come. And at that particular point, you have the talent and ability to just say, because that's what the Patriots did with the dynasty, right? Both dynasties, even the Super Bowls they lost. From Super Bowl 36 to Super Bowl 53, they were in 9 Super Bowls. They won 6, they lost 3, and they just constantly cycled in new talent. You know, you might have had Troy Brown, Deion Branch, Antoine Smith, or you might have had Randy Moss and Wes Welker, or you might have had Gronk and Edelman, or you might have Stephon Diggs, Ramondre Stevenson, and Travion Henderson, and Demario Douglas and Booty. So this team has proven whether they can always recycle. Mike Vrabel's from the Belichick coach team. He knows what Belichick did that worked. When Belichick won his first 3 Super Bowls as a head coach of the Patriots, Mike Vrabel was one of the featured talents on that defense with Teddy Bruschi, Willie McGinnis, Roman Pfeiffer, Roosevelt Colvin, Vince Wilfork, Richard Seymour, Ty Warren, Ty Law, Lawyer Malloy, Rodney Harrison. You know, Kevin Falk. Actually, I'm thinking offense, sorry. You know, but you had a lot of players. Otis Smith. Asante Samuel was a young player on Super Bowl 39. Tyrone Poole. You had a lot of players. On that defense. And, yeah, I still got power. I'll tell you this, Courtney, that power better be on all night. Okay, if I lose the power like 9 o'clock tonight, I'm not worried about it. But between now and 9 o'clock, my power better be on, okay? Yeah, Otis Smith was underrated. He was great. He was a great player for the Patriots. He won 2 Super Bowls, Super Bowl 36 and 38. But, yeah, you know, the Patriots have always cycled talent in and out over the years. They can always replace and replenish. Now they've done that with Belichick. They got a new coach, Mike Vrabel. And, you know, they got a window now. There's a renewed window here. As a Patriots fan, you should be very excited. You should be. We are back. And even if we don't win today, we're still back. Even if we go to the Super Bowl in 2 weeks and lose, we're still back. So they got an opportunity here the next decade to really get this going. And Mike Vrabel is just in his first year as head coach with the Patriots. He's only coached so many years before this with the Tennessee Titans. And Drake May is just getting going. So we're just in the beginning of it. Yeah, and Scott says, yes, early Brady era had lots to do with a great team, great defense, including special teams. Adam Vinatieri. You also had Bethel Johnson, who was doing kick returns. Troy Brown, who was doing punt returns. I remember Bethel Johnson's punt return, or kickoff. I think it was kickoff return against the Colts in 2003 in a middle of the season game. And it was right there. We're like, okay, we got the best team in the league, baby. For sure. But, yeah, I would say comparatively, I would say Drake May in his second year is better than Tom Brady in his second year. But I would argue that this is no slight to Troy Brown. I would argue that Stephon Diggs is a better, well, I don't need to even say that, even though I talked about it earlier. I think Drake May has more passing options in 2025 season, this season, than Brady had in 2001. You know, Belichick was kind of holding Brady back in that Super Bowl too. Like, you kind of wouldn't let him throw as much, you know. And then in 2003, Brady was really starting to throw a lot. I think he had like 33 completions or something against the Panthers. You know, but they were going to, even in Super Bowl 36, in the final quarter, they were going to play for overtime against the Rams, and Bledsoe walked up to Brady. Charlie Weiss, the offensive coordinator at the time, very good offensive coordinator, said to Brady, well, Tom, we're going to play for overtime. Bledsoe makes his way over and goes, throw that ball. Win the Super Bowl right now. And it was good because, you know what? The Patriots defense had worked so hard that night. They were starting to run out of gas. You know, the Rams were starting to figure out some plays, but the Patriots defense was starting to weaken, and they had just tied the game. And it was like, my goodness gracious, we just need to win this game right now. Go down the field, and Brady just did what Montana did, you know, against the Bengals, which is pass, pass, pass. They threw a pass to J.R. Redmond. The biggest pass of the night was to Troy Brown, which got him over the 50-yard line. And then I think they got one more pass completion. And then the next thing you know, Adam Vinatieri kicked the field goal. Went from, oh, my God, the Rams came back and they're going to beat us, to all of a sudden, boom, it's over. I remember I didn't even celebrate for 5 minutes because I was in shock. Because I was like, no, we're going to blow this game. We're going to lose. This is crazy. I can't believe it. Then all of a sudden, just pass, touchdown, game over, we won. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, we're rocking the gear, baby. Rocking the gear. Rocking the gear. All these hats. Get all these hats. Look at all these hats. Crazy. Unbelievable. Stack them. I should get like I should get like those little things you frame the hat. You kind of put them in like a it's a preformed hat shape, and you just put them on that just to conserve these over time. They're in pretty good shape, but conserve the form of the hat a little bit better than the condition I have them in presently. But these hats are all still in good condition. I don't wear them. I don't wear them because these hats get disgusting after a while. I saw people wearing. I saw a guy once at the supermarket, like 2 months after the Super Bowl, or maybe 5 months after the Super Bowl, whatever. It was raining out, and this guy's hat was completely destroyed. His hat, because he would wear it around all the time. He'd wear it in the rain, and the hat would get all disgusting, and his hat was all like stained. I'm like, what are you doing? These are commemorative hats. You wear them around once or twice on good weather days. You never wear them during the summer. You don't want the sweat to get in here. And that's it. Chicken wings, garlic parmesan chicken wings, Cool Ranch Doritos, stuffed jalapenos. I even got some shrimp. And I got some pepperoni and cheese too. So I'm going to start making that soon, actually. I'm going to start getting the oven fired up right after I'm done this show. But yeah, I think the Patriots have a lot of weapons, man. I think they do. Like I said, I think the Broncos are going to give us a fight. I think it's going to be a tough game, but the Patriots have more than enough weapons on offense and defense. They may not have, the best defense left, maybe the Seahawks or the Broncos. I don't know. I think it could be the Patriots, but the best offense is probably the Rams. So the Patriots probably don't have the Patriots probably have at best the second best offense left. Maybe it's arguable between the Seahawks and Patriots. I don't know. But I think that overall, I think the Patriots probably have the best balance of offense and defense. And the 2003 Patriots were a team that had great offense and defense. The 2004 Patriots had a balanced offense and a balanced defense. And every single Patriots team that won the last 3 Super Bowls we won, bingo, bango, and bongo, they were balanced on both sides of the ball. I think the only Patriots team that's ever won the Super Bowl didn't have balance on both sides was possibly the 2001 Patriots. Again, their defense was here. Their offense was kind of, I would say, average. But the Rams didn't have a great defense. The Rams had a great offense. They had Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, Marshall Faulk, Kurt Warner. But overall, I think we get I think when you have a balance on both sides of the ball, where you're like, you looked at last week, the Patriots offense was better than the Houston Texans offense, no question. But the Texans defense was better than the Patriots defense. But look what the Patriots defense did. They outperformed the Texans defense, didn't they? They forced 5 turnovers. The Texans defense forced 3. Our defense outperformed a superior defense on the other side of the team. Then our offense outperformed the other team's offense. So it comes down to a lot of that in football. Having balance, like the Patriots used to play Peyton Manning. In those early years, Peyton Manning was actually better, I thought, for a few years than Brady. But Brady was cooler in terms of big games. Brady was cooler in playing in snow games. Peyton Manning, early on in his career, couldn't handle snow games at all. Couldn't handle. He would wimp out in those games. Brady was all excited. Being a kid from Michigan, from his college years, was all ready for those games. So, that makes the difference too. But even though Peyton Manning probably talent-wise in those earlier years was better than Brady, Brady eventually caught up to him, in my opinion, surpassed him in talent and in ability. I think Brady's better than him all the time. But Brady, even though we didn't have a receiver like Marvin Harrison, we had maybe Troy Brown or Deion Branch, who weren't quite as good as Marvin Harrison. We had a better defense. We had a better defense than the Colts, and our defense would hold down the Colts. It was 24-14 in the 2003 AFC Championship. Then it was 20-3 in the divisional round the next year, both at Gillette Stadium, both in snow games. I remember these scores. But our defense would shut down the Colts offense. Ty Law picked off Manning, 3 times in the 2003 AFC Championship, played in 2004. And then all it came down to was our offense getting through the Colts defense, putting up some points, game over. So it pays to sometimes have balance on both sides of the ball. It usually puts you in the best position. So today I'm picking the Patriots and I'm picking the Seahawks. Patriots-Seahawks Super Bowl rematch. I'm going to get going, guys. I'm going to end the spaces right now. So the spaces is ending. All right. No calls today. No worries. No problem. Everybody's busy. I think there's some other shows going on too. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, let's go Patriots. Let's have a great day. I think they're going to win. Let's go to Denver. It's going to be freezing. Let's get it going. We want to get back to the Super Bowl. We want to get another hat. So let's go Patriots. Get it done. Get the job done. Let's go to Super Bowl 60 in San Francisco, the San Francisco treat, and get this game won today. Let's win another AFC championship, our 12th in history. Go Patriots. Here we go. Drake May Vrabel era. Let's get it on. To the Super Bowl we go. Let's go Patriots. From MazzaMedia, I am Mark. Take care of yourselves. Have a great afternoon. I'll be tweeting throughout the game. Look for me, guys. Have a great one. We'll be back another time. Ladies and gentlemen, take care. Stay warm in the snow. Bundle up and eat well. Keep the heat on in your house. Take care, guys. Go Patriots.